maintain a relationship with truth and peace. And truth is your, let's say, your relationship with like what is here right now. You're not building anything, you're not trying to get anywhere, you don't have any intention. Basically, you have no intention, and you're just experiencing life. You're just experiencing seeing or hearing or breathing or sitting where you're sitting or watching YouTube or watching TikTok, just what it is right now. And you shouldn't let anything confuse you or trip you up or spiral you away from a relationship with the way that things are right now directly. And if you're looking at the way that things are right now directly, okay, it's going to be much bigger, wider, clearer, more vivid than thinking about things, than thoughts about things. So, seeing, hearing, physical sensations in the body, the heart beating, colors, sounds, smells, feelings of pressure, whatever it is, the direct experience that you're having right now can't be put into a thought form. You need to remember that. You need to have a relationship with truth as ultimately not being a thought form. And 777's what you were saying about, God and peace is like God a synonym for peace. God is probably more a synonym for truth. And but don't overcomplicate it. And then peace is your ability to be okay with truth. And the reason that we practice meditation is we look into our direct experience. We look at reality as it is without trying to go somewhere else to try to get some special experience, to try and figure something out, to try and manage something, but to actually sit with or be with what already is. And this is what peace arises from, or recognition of peace arises from. That sense, that real sense of relationship with truth that's not based on complicated thinking. Complicated thinking is often going to lead us to our downfall most of the time. Meaning we'll get stressed, we'll get angry, we'll get frustrated, we'll get greedy, whatever. And so those feelings that we get, that feeling of anxiety, that feeling of excitement, that feeling even of confusion or worry or wonder, is a access point for truth, right? For being free from complicated thinking and having a direct experience of life or reality or the way that it is right here in front of you right now. And we can breathe with that, we can walk with that, but keep it simple. You can do anything with that, but it's really helpful to keep it simple. Is everyone following along with that? So it's not about, let me say this. It's not about it being easy or difficult, and it's not about the modern world. It's not about us getting what we want. And this is the really important teaching, or what I can try to share with you guys from my experience, is that being at peace with your life and truth are not based on what we want, are not based on the thoughts that we have about ourselves or the world. Go ahead, Captain Duck. And if you can't be in a position to control your life, and that's where that acceptance of that is a recognition of truth, and that acceptance of that is a access to peace. When we aren't able to walk in that way, to be in that way, that's when we continuously overcomplicate and feed our anxiety, our greed, our complicated, non-practical thinking. which just doesn't help ourselves or others particularly much. So we're going to go to take some questions from the group. Um, so, and take some sharings as well if anybody has it. For those who don't know, I was a Buddhist monk for 7 years, and I recently have come back to the modern life and trying a lot of things for the first time again after this period of time of being away from just doing whatever I wanted to do in a worldly sense. It's not really about getting rid of thoughts as much as it is about developing a relationship with thoughts that isn't based in attachment and identification. So thoughts happen just in the same way that gas happens, or hunger happens, or anger happens, or fear happens. So the problem is not anger or fear, etc. It's the perpetuation of it. So being able to view thoughts or be aware of thoughts without saying or seeing that those thoughts are mine, are me, are my life story, my personhood. They're just thoughts. So now, I'm not a monk, but I'm still informed by those, that philosophy, that perspective, that moral code, that ethical code. And when you see a big confusion that a lot of young people have is not much of a connection to being an ethical person and the benefits that can bring you, right? So being a kind person, being a generous person, being patient, being forgiving, being friendly, right? And not just that, but also identifying and renouncing the negatives of those, right? So having a very high standard for allowable anger or identifiable with anger. So you learn to not be someone who perpetuates and validates yourself in anger or yourself in fear. And sometimes we can't control it. That's why we come back to truth and peace. And that's what this is what our talk here is about today, truth and peace, and the opportunity to ask questions as well. So, if we're trying to manipulate the world or control the world or control how we are influenced by the world, it's like trying to move the moon. You're not going to be able to move the moon, most likely, even though it's possible. If you got a nuclear bomb or something like that and moved it to the moon and blew it up, you'd move the moon. We have to come back to our direct experience. So we have to come back to where we are right now and develop a relationship with where we are right now that's not about seeking to get something else for the self or to avoid something that's already here. And when we are aware of our direct experience now, and we're not seeking for something else, and we're not trying to avoid anything that's here, that's very peaceful. But being at peace is not about stimulating ourselves. It's not about being entertained. So this peace has a direct relationship with truth, or the way that it already is. And the more that you move in that direction, the more that you will be free from outside influences. Because the outside influences have a very limited capacity to influence you. The main influence is your lack of relationship with stopping and seeing. If you can stop and see, you can be free from being controlled by anyone or anything. Because there's no control in just being. The more that you think about it, the farther you go away from it. Being with the way that it already is, and not relying on conceptual thought to not to define anything, but to experience the experience that is already. So the world may seem to be mapped out in words and phrases and intellectual theory, but that's not necessarily true. And if you look at your direct experience, and what does that mean? It means that you see seeing. You breathe breathing. Well, if you want to call it living in the present moment, you can call it that. But it's the words here are basically irrelevant to the direct experience. The words are just a means to detach from words. Detach from words means that the words are just what they are. So let me give you an example before we get into that. This appears to be a glass bottle, right? And someone made this glass bottle, and this glass bottle has been moved around and filled and emptied. I think it's a reusable glass bottle, right? I think that would be, you guys would all say that's fair to say, right? And all of the particles, and it was manufactured, it has writing on it. Someone designed that writing. This color was designed, was picked, was chosen. This numbers, a certain amount of water particles in here, all this stuff, right? So this glass bottle is what you call yourself or your ego. And there's all these aspects, there's all this design, manufacturing, all these different people that were involved in bringing about this glass bottle, right? Your ego. But really, what is this glass bottle, if not just this? And that is not a thing, actually. Right? So the glass bottle is itself beyond itself. And you also, your ego, your problems, your anxiety, your depression, etc., is kind of already beyond itself. We just don't stop enough. We don't have a relationship with stopping enough to see the clarity that isn't about things. And then and that's truth. And then to abide, or that abiding in relationship to that truth, is peace. So to be at peace in just being. But that's an active, it's like going for a walk. It has nothing to do with talking about it. And you can talk on a walk, yes. You just don't try to do anything. Because really there's no one to be at peace. That's truth. And peace is being in that. Just like this bottle. There's no thing here separate from everything else for this bottle to be. This bottle is only this bottle together with everything. So like this bottle is literally an example of everything. And everything is not a thing, a separate thing that you can worry about or be stressed about or try to control or try to manage in an ultimate sense. So this is how thinking about or remembering the reality of death becomes a way of truth and peace, rather than a confusion for the ego or something to worry about. Go ahead, let's go ahead to Silo. Yeah, it's a good idea, because one of the main needs that we have, modern people, where our basic needs are met, where we have food and water, we need meaning. We need to have a way to live a meaningful life. And so what is more accessible than the needs of others? So by helping to meet the needs of others, we immediately put ourselves in a position to sustain a meaningful life. And the reason that a lot of people end their lives is not because they have something wrong with their brain or they're inherently depressed, inherently anxious, or something like that. They don't have any access to leading a meaningful life. And leading a meaningful life, just helping yourself, doesn't really make sense on an absolute or on a relative level. So that work of helping others, of course, we have to start by helping ourselves, because otherwise we're not in a position to help others. But sometimes we actually help ourselves through helping others. So it's a very practical way to kind of get ourselves out of the trenches of our self-inflicted confusion. It's very reliable, it's very sustainable, and it's a creative dimension, right, to get into this path of trying to help others rather than just trying to help ourselves, trying to give to others rather than just trying to give to ourselves. It really breaks us out of the ego, or breaks us out of the chains of greed and frustration and confusion. You don't have to do anything to be at peace. You just have to stop doing anything. You don't even have to do that, because the nature of things, or the nature of thoughts, or the nature of everything is to fall away. Like, name one thing that lasts forever. Nothing lasts forever. And so these things, or these experiences, or these thoughts, or these aspects of our kind of dream experience of reality are constantly passing away. So that stopping is actually just going in accords with ending. The ending of thoughts, the ending of everything. We just are compulsively seeking or compulsively avoiding, right? And so we don't develop this relationship with stopping, and so we miss out on an entire dimension of our human reality and our human psychological capacity to heal. Because it's the mental health, or the living a fulfilled life, being an enlightened person, being an Adonis person, or whatever, like a champion of the ego, that's not based in this sustainable, perfect experience or life, because that's not real. There's no such thing as a continuous experience of health. There's no such thing as a continuous experience of success. There's no such thing as that. The body and the mind die. They pass away, they get sick, or your loved ones, or your wealth, your house, your possessions, your car, whatever it is, it passes away, it dissolves. Your relationship with someone, your ideal of yourself that changes according with the environment. So the Adonis or the enlightened way or the mental health or this potential to heal is what this development is actually about. So the path to getting to that Adonis level or getting to that enlightened level or getting to that development is that capacity to stop and release everything, and to, that's like the most pure, the most potent, the most direct version of getting back up again once you fall down. But the reality is that you're always falling down. So this relationship with stopping and space, or relationship with no thoughts, or relationship with nothing at all, is that getting back up again. And that's the only way that we can live our lives skillfully and with wisdom. That's the only wise way to do it. The schemes of becoming a millionaire, becoming a six-pack, 7-foot, 250-pound ladies' man, or things like that, are just sales tactics. So you have to stop buying into sales tactics and start stopping and seeing, life. And life is very interesting as it is. Like there's a little ant that's walking around on this table here. And so because we don't have an active relationship with just seeing an ant walking around on the table, we are constantly stimulating ourselves, and that's why we constantly spiral, or we have this great ability to spiral in our anxiety, in our depression, in our confused thinking. And it's just not necessary to go down those paths. Your desires interfere with your capacity to be balanced and grounded where you already are. The only place that you can build on is this place. So you have to learn how to put those aspirations and put those ideals in your pocket and be with the foundation of reality. Which is, it's not a thing. And this is why that constant clamoring and clinging mind is so confused by it, because it's not a thing that we can grab onto. It's not something that we can fixate on. It's not something that we can understand. It's not something that we can control in any way. It's like an anti-smartphone. It's like a smartphone that you can't use, and you can't see, and you can't hear. It's like nothing, but how could nothing be like anything? Right? Nothing in that way is just another thing. So it's not about things. It's not about our relationship with things. So truth and peace are not about our relationship with things. And the stronger your relationship is with truth, and the stronger your relationship is with peace, the more able you will be to go about whatever business ideas or lifestyle ideas that you have in your mind. But regardless of whatever business or lifestyle ideas you have in your mind, directions you want to go into, you should understand the principles or the rules of the game for all of this. So regardless of what your aspirations are, the rules of the game are that everything is temporary. Every piece on the board is temporary. Every thought in your mind is temporary. Every person in your life is temporary. So breathing and being with that temporariness, that reality, rather than being something to worry about, is actually a space of truth and peace and non-involvement with thoughts. Rafi, I want you to be more mindful, to give space to the others. There are many people here. They may also have questions. They may also want to share. So more space. You know what I mean? So focus on your breath. Focus on your breath and really take in, really digest what you hear as much as you can. Because the real advice here is only coming from within you. It's just if you're open or not to experience that. Yes. Yeah, go ahead. Well, you can try right now and see what happens to not do anything. Rafi, try to mute your mic, please. There's some noises coming through it. Okay, good night, Rafi. Sleep well. So, just, if this was like a meditation, if we were approaching this as a meditation, just stop doing everything. And when that starting up happens, stop again. And so that stopping and seeing come together to be a place of awareness and peace. To see through the ego, to see through the complicatedness of your life, to see through your suffering. And you want that ability of stopping and seeing to be penetrative, to go through your life, to go through your thoughts about yourself, to go through your thoughts about the world. The problem is that we're on a hamster wheel of pleasure and pain. So we think in this hamster wheel that we're trapped in, that pleasure is freedom and that pain is suffering. But actually, pleasure and pain are both suffering. So this freedom that we're developing in just stopping and seeing is not about feeling good. It's about being free. It's about being free and ready to have and to be an example of truth and peace. With whatever, together with everything. And then you get a chance to just breathe. Well, don't don't get stuck on how it sounds, but hear the sounds as they are, rather than thinking about the sounds. So see what you're seeing right now without thinking about what you're seeing. See without thinking. Hear without thinking. Breathe without thinking. But it's not something to force, it's just an allowance. And that dimension of seeing without thinking, that dimension of hearing without thinking, that dimension of breathing without thinking is what gives access to thinking without thinking. Well, a little smile is just as good as a big smile. So sometimes you have to force it, you have to try. But that trying is just to not try. Okay, we have some questions on the YouTube channel. Um, Brennan Bacco says, what modern life activities have you started to do now that you're no longer a monk? I started to wear, get a little bit more fashion, and also grow a beard. Those are two. And why am I not resting? Because I'm ready to step forward into peace and freedom. And I'm so excited about that I'm resting by sharing this experience. And I have to go to the airport in not too long. Yeah, go ahead. What's the question? I mean, for me, this is the best meditation technique for someone who's willing to meditate and wants to try. Listen to guided meditations from meditation masters. Because in their guided meditation, they will be kind of transferring and sharing with you a meditation technique in the instructions, but also that heart energy, that lived experience that's so important to kind of guide and facilitate how you approach your own meditation. Was that your question, Connor? Okay. Yeah. Go ahead, Connor. Yeah, you come back. Actually, sometimes the body and mind does this automatically. I've noticed that sometimes if I'm getting really wrapped up in thought, then I will stub my toe, or I will trip, or I'll bump into something. And so that's a reminder of why you shouldn't just be thinking all the time, spiraling into thought, because it's dangerous, right, for taking care of the body. Um, but also that physical experience or awareness of bodily sensations is a refuge for the mind. So when you notice that your mind is really getting worked up in thinking and in thoughts and in narratives, bring your mind back to awareness of the body. That can be your breathing, that can be your heart beating, that can be a pain in the body, that can be your feet on the ground, whatever it is. And that can be very useful to pull yourself back to the present moment, or pull yourself back really to reality. Present moment is kind of a burned out term. It's a little bit, I think it's a little bit placid or a little bit flaccid. But what that term is actually pointing to is like the ground of reality, the place where you die, the place where you're born, the place where life and death is constantly balancing on a rainbow razor edge. And then when we bring the mind back to the body, you'll notice tension, you'll notice different feelings, different aspects of the body. And if you're on the football field, or you're involved in this intensive work, intellectual or physical, it's going to be very difficult to relax the body or relax those systematic tensions, or habituated tensions. And when we have a more active relationship with coming back to awareness of tension, we can learn to not be controlled by the body and actually be a friend to the body, because the body doesn't want to be tense. The body doesn't want to be scared. The body doesn't want to be overflowing with anxiety or anything like that. So when we can bring our attention, our mind back to the body, we can let the body know everything's okay. That you can be relaxed, you can be balanced. And then your life can become more relaxed as well. And you develop a standard for relaxation. So then your body is actually helping you and saying, whoa, wait a minute, what I'm doing or what I'm involved with mentally or intellectually right now is over pushing me beyond my capacity to be aware of the body or to be aware of tension and to relax it. So I need to step back. I need to let that go for now. And you can do that entire process just by coming back to an awareness of your breathing or your heart beating or just your body in space. So the trying actually becomes a big, big problem if we don't have this direct relationship with um, with being or relaxing or not trying. So we don't try to relax. It's kind of just we're aware that relaxation is happening. We go with that. The pleasure seeking is just as much as a trap as trying to avoid pain. And it goes from the body all the way up to the mind, where you're pleasure seeking for status or authority or profit or fame. Or praise. So we have to learn how to step back from all of that to have an internal equilibrium that allows us to go outside of our cultural or social conditioning. And especially if we have traumas, because the babies, we were all babies, and the babies are very sweet and very good because that's how they're supposed to be. Because they're supposed to be supported and protected and facilitated, to come up and to grow up in a very particular way. Because there's so much vulnerability for human beings, for human children. So when we grow up in such a way where we didn't have that systematic protection and facilitation of our development, those scars are very, very deep. And we have to take an active role of knowing how to relax and release our tension to then be the caretaker, be the protector, be the conduit for that inner child to heal that scar, that wound. But it's important for everybody. It's just that if you've experienced more trauma, if you have more inner kind of suffering, then it's more of an internal need to do that work for yourself. And if you hadn't had that, it can go both ways. But if you're more robust and you don't have kind of an inner trauma or scar, then it's more for the external need. Right? Because now your impact on the world, especially as a man or a woman or whoever it is, right, is up to your capacity to know how to balance your emotions and to have a direct relationship and a sustainable relationship with peace and truth. Or the truth of peace or the peace of truth. And if all you can get is a piece, that's more than enough. We're always overeating, overseeking. So learning how to be content, learning how to be happy, learning how to be grateful with a piece of truth. Or the truth of peace. And what is the truth of peace? Well, it means that, everything's fine. I don't need to think about anything. I don't need to change the body in any way. I don't need to change the mind in any way. I don't need to change the environment in any way. Everything's fine. And this is an essential neurological development that children are supposed to have but don't when they grow up in trauma-informed environments. Where that way of everything is okay. Peace is truth. Truth is peace. The truth here is peacefulness and safety. Then that's when we need to get involved. And that's when, if we're not involved and if we don't have support, if we don't come across a teacher or a parent or someone who helps us, a friend, then we just spiral endlessly in depression and anxiety or psychological health issues, schizophrenia, bipolar. And then when we have that in ourselves, let's say, we embody it. It's not that we go around telling everybody, we're all one, we're all in a universal holosphere. Reality isn't real, but rather that we embody that in our own way, and that becomes our art. So instead of just showing off our big belly or showing off our six-pack, we start to show off our heart by our way of being, by our way of living, by our capacity to be at peace with ourselves. Now, for physical insecurities, this is really interesting because I was a monk for 7 years, so I always had on my monk robes. I always looked a certain way, and I was always seen a certain way as a monk. So now I don't have I'm not a monk anymore, and I'm wearing shorts and a t-shirt, and I've also put on quite a few pounds. I've probably put on 10 kilos, 10 kilograms, or 15 kilograms. I mean, something wild. Um, in the past month or so. So the combination of that is kind of make me very kind of conscious about my body in space in an environment, right? And especially when you wear monk robes, it's kind of very flowy, so it's not like people can really see your body. So how I actually do is I find that the body reacts. There's a tension in the body, a tension that correlates with the mind, right? About, oh, I don't have a six pack, or oh, my posture, or oh, I'm not wearing monk's robes, etc. Or oh, I look this way, right? And what I found is that with a mindfulness, or with that openness to just being aware of the direct experience, that tension, that posture, that feeling is actually an access point to just being free with the way that your body is, and to breaking through that construct of how you want to appear to the world, right? Because that tension, or that feeling in the body, is a direct experience that's not intellectual. So it is a insecurity that we crack. It's an insecurity that we crack the code of with openness to just being aware of it as it is. And that tension, or that feeling in the body that correlates with physical insecurities, is not based in thought, is not a thought form. So whatever thought form is building off of that and latching to that can actually be easily broken if we use the key of mindfulness, or just true awareness, right? And then you don't have to feel a certain way. It doesn't mean you have to feel completely peaceful, but you recognize that your body is not a thought. And then your body is free from those thoughts about the body. And that's very active, and it's just simple as you're breathing, you're aware of your breathing, you're aware of how your body feels, and you just, you don't take your body too seriously. Everybody maybe wants to be Mr. Beast, but Mr. Beast is having diarrhea just like the rest of us. Mr. Beast probably has more suffering than you do. It's just an appearance. So don't get locked into appearances, but rather notice that pull towards appearances, and then come back to awareness. And that's where your truth is, and that's where your peace is. But truth and peace are not possessed by anyone. And that's why your truth and your peace can be free in the midst of others that are possessive or are confused. And you can't put your happiness, your life, your value in the minds of confused people. You've just got to come back to yourself. The biggest, most profound relationship that you're ever going to have, you already have. And that's the relationship with yourself. And that self is a moment-by-moment direct experience of breathing, of body, of heart, of mind, as it is. That's not about other people. It's certainly not about what other people think, and it's not about other people's bodies. And it's not about your body either. Truth and peace are not about your body, but your ability to be aware of your body without judging it, without perpetuating thoughts about it, okay, is essentially the way to be at peace and to know the truth of yourself, which is not a thought form. So truth in direct experience that is not based on thoughts, and peace in that experience of freedom from thoughts. That truth does not rely on thoughts. And then you enter into the body, you feel and you breathe with and you flow through the body. And yeah, you go back to TikTok. Yeah, you go back to YouTube. Yeah, you go back to that stuff that maybe you don't want to go back to. But you now know how to come back home. And you now know that truth is not based in thoughts about things. And peace is free. All right. Let's leave it there, brothers, friends. And the next time you're going through something, the next time something comes up, stop and see. Breathe. Breathe through it. Stop. Because there's so many of our brothers out there, there's so many of our sisters out there that do not have this relationship anymore. They do not have a relationship with stopping and seeing. So if you have that relationship, take it not seriously, but really value that. And it doesn't mean you're going to become a monk. It doesn't mean you're going to go and meditate in your closet for an hour and a half every day. It doesn't mean you're going to learn some special meditation technique. It just means you remember that you is not about thinking about things. And that you can be at peace without thinking. And that's called truth. Okay. Namaste. Go out there and do your best. Bye-bye. Well, that was the end of the lecture for the first group of young men on Discord. There is something very valuable about hopelessness, because we're not kind of looking around the other corner for our special success, right? For our special gift, our special treat. But for those young kids, hard not, and for everyone, it's hard not to want them to have hope. But alas, the wonderful meditation is hopeless in nature. So let's take a little bit of time together, all beings, seen and unseen, heavenly beings and hellish beings, inviting Buddhas and Bodhisattvas and Mahasattvas, and all beings in all realms to join the assembly, the Dhamma assembly, to just be, to stop and see truth and peace. And if you've been feeling a little bit down, then give yourself a smile. If you don't feel like you need to smile, you don't have to, but if you'd like to have a smile, you can take one freely, give to yourself. And this stopping and seeing meditation is just stop it. And also to just breathe. And we're not really doing anything completely hopeless. But a voice in the distance saying, stop. and nothingness breathing. Not even that. Don't let the doppelganger effect get to you. That secondary person inside of the meditation that's looking for something, wanting for something, everything. It's not even meditation, not even a thing. Tension is not tension. Breathing is not breathing. It's just together with everything already. Just the awareness of the awareness of the awareness of nonsense. And we start maybe to be more aware of the body in a more subtle way, and more aware of the mind in a more subtle way, subtle aspects of the mind, subtle aspects of the body. And that's all nonsense. Just aware. And allow the truth of just aware, or the truth of that's just nonsense, to flow through everything. Not even about the body, not even about the mind, not even about flowing through everything. Completely hopeless, completely free. As if we, you, I, as if nothing was sitting, floating in the middle of a vast ocean in complete darkness, with only sensations, thoughts, stars above. And in that deep, black, ominous, mysterious ocean, with thoughts and sensations in the body, subtle and gross, and with those stars above, may we say a few words of hope and of love. So you may repeat after me if you like, with your inner or outer voice. May I be safe. May I be protected. May I be well cared for. May I feel at home wherever I go. May I feel peaceful regardless of what I experience. May I have faith. May I have courage. May my ego overflow with kindness towards myself. May all that I wish for myself come true. May all of the truth within myself be offered to others. May others receive this truth in a way that makes them feel free. May I be free from suffering. May I be free from fear. May I be free from anger. May I be free from greed. May I be free from thoughts. May you be free from suffering. May you be free from fear. May you be free from worry. May you be at peace in the face of all mental phenomena. May you be free from fear in the face of all physical phenomena. May all beings be well, happy, and safe. May all beings be well, happy, and safe. May all beings be free from suffering. May it be. May it be. May it truly, truly be. Sadhu. Sadhu.